Hey everybody, this video is going to cover the forum discussion section of our online communication guidelines Moodle book. So forum discussions, this is really where the bulk of your assignments and points are in the class. So these are really important to do correctly. So you will engage in online forum discussions most weeks to explore, examine, and evaluate key concepts from course materials with your classmates. It's important for each student to play an active role in these discussions so that we hear different opinions and ideas. So some things to know about the forums is postings should be evenly distributed during the discussion period. So instead of just coming in once a week, I want to see that you've been in there a couple times a week, engaging in the forum. Posting should be a minimum between like 2 and 4 paragraphs, and you're gonna get, when we look at the format of the forums, it's going to be easy for you to get that much information. You want to avoid postings that are limited to I agree or great idea. Your response posts are graded. There's a grading rubric, and if you just write that, you're not going to get points for your response. Address the questions as much as possible. Don't let the discussion stray. So what that means is each of these assignments asks you very specific questions. Stay on topic, stay relevant. If you have other questions or other ideas, there's a different place for you to introduce that. And if you want to introduce those things to the class, reach out to me and let me know, and we can decide together what the best way to do that is. But if you start getting off topic in your assignments, you're going to start losing points in your assignment. Incorporate course content. So you want to include page numbers when you do that. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. And use proper netiquette. And I talked about that in another video. So what you want to do is write substantive posts. So what does that mean? So you want to provide examples, describe consequences and implications, pose a clarifying question, suggest a different perspective, and pull in related information from other sources. So I'm going to let you go through this, but here are examples of what a non-substantive message, a moderate message, or a substantive message might look like. So, and it tells you why. So good idea for assessing whether people know what to do. It just basically says pat on the back to that person, right? So that's non-substantive. So focus on the substantive message, read those, and get a good idea of what does it mean for a post to be substantive, because that's what I'm looking for. Keeping posts crisp. Again, I'm going to let you go through this in more detail, but your post should be considerate, reflective, interactive, succinct, and pertinent. So there's more details here about what each of those things mean, but considerate and respectful to our classmates, understanding that we're all in this learning process together. None of us are experts, and we're learning. We also are being considerate and understanding that posting in an online setting can be a very vulnerable thing. So we're respecting that, and we're being thankful and courteous to our classmates. Reflective is, I've thought a lot about this, and this is where I've come to my understanding, and this is why. It's interactive. I ask questions of my classmates. I seek feedback. It's succinct, so it doesn't go on. I don't go on and on saying the same thing. And it's pertinent, so it's relevant to the topic that we're on. So incorporating course materials and citations. So this is really important in this class. I want to see, in your other classes, you're going to be using APA format, and that's great, and you need to know how to use it. What I would say in this class is I'm not going to be grading on APA formatting, but I do want to see that you are referencing course materials into your posts. So here's a link for more information on APA formatting. It's a really good resource. I would suggest bookmarking it and using it. But when you're writing assignments, I'm going to say, hey, what is what are your thoughts about this? And I want you to back it up. So, you know what? I think that an example would be, I think that women with substance use disorders should not be criminalized. When women with substance use disorders, or pregnant women with substance use disorders are criminalized, we see X, Y, and Z happen. And then I would cite my source. So citing sources, I provide examples of what I want this to look like in this course. So if you, so when you do that, you just need to do the author's last name, the date, so really just the year and the page number. So that's what I want to see in your written assignments. If you use a direct quote, you need to indicate that it's a direct quote, like this example right here. And I would just caution you against using direct quotes all the time. Sometimes it's appropriate, but if you're just using direct quote, direct quote, direct quote, direct quote, it's not demonstrating that you've actually consumed and understood the material in class. It also kind of takes away the voice from your paper. So you're writing in your own voice, and then you're including this quote from somebody else's voice. So it also, it takes away some of the strength of your argument as well. So outside articles. So here's the thing, in this class, you are provided with substantial content, and I want you to incorporate that content into your materials or into your assignments, because it tells me that you've read the material and it tells me that you understand the material. If you have an outside article that you want to, that helps make your point, please feel free to use it. But I also want to make sure that you're using credible sources. So I included a link to the library here. Finding peer-reviewed articles instead of just Googling and going to someone's blog is going to make a much stronger case. As LACs, we're required to use evidence-based practices in our work. So we need to start learning. I can't just Google my interventions. I can, but I still need to look and make sure that those interventions are evidence-based. So formatting your forum posts. So to help keep our discussion forums on topic and organized, you'll benefit from the following format when writing your discussion forum posts. So instead of writing full essays, you can respond to the assignment prompt using bulleted lists in your responses. You are still required to use full sentences. So just because I don't want a bulleted list, I want you to say I want you to indicate what question you're answering from the assignment, and then give me, full sentences and paragraphs as you answer that question. So here's an example from our week 2 discussion forum. So the assignment prompt asks these questions. Have you ever been addicted to a substance or behavior, or thought you should make some changes? Did you seek help or naturally recover? Explain. How do you think your knowledge about addiction will help others who are addicted? So a correctly formatted response, number 1 here, I know when I'm reading this that number 1 is answering the question from the assignment number 1. Well, I've not been diagnosed with a substance use disorder. I've recognized patterns of substance use that were problematic in my life, which did make me realize I should make changes. Question number 2, I naturally recovered by X, Y, and Z. Question number 3, it took me a long time to realize ... So note that this example is just an example. When you actually write, to show you the formatting of the response, when you write your responses, they need to be longer than this example that I posted here. So let's go through the forum grading criteria, and I will wrap this up. So your forum posts, your initial posts, I guess all forums, and we'll look at one of the forums. So all forums require you to write an initial or primary post and then a minimum of 2 response posts. So your initial primary post is worth up to 8 points. out of the 20 points for the assignment. So this is the forum. So for you to get 8 points, you need to demonstrate that you understand course content, that you've incorporated sources into your discussion, and you cited materials. And then you'll see that a 6 score is that you included less, only, like one source of material. A fair score would be that you made little to no reuse of reading, and a poor score would be that you also were not on topic. So that's how you're going to get points. And then your response posts, again, there are 2 or more responsives that add significantly to the discussion, and post display etiquette. So so that's worth 4 points. Writing in format. So if it's formatted in, the bulleted list that I discussed above, that you followed the communication guidelines, that grammar, spelling, and writing are correct, you're going to get 4 points for that. And then there's timeliness and quantity of discussion responses. So primary post and 2 response posts are well distributed throughout the week. You'll get 4 points for that. If they're not distributed throughout the week, but you did all of them, you'll get 3 points for that. So just know that this is the grading criteria, and this is when I go to grade, I'm just going to select those numbers, and that's how you're going to earn points. So let's go and look at a discussion forum really quick, and we will, just so that you can see. So let's go into number 2, since that's what we looked at. So week 2 discussion forum. So chapter 1 in your textbook explains the nature of prediction. Elaborate on this question. So again, here are the questions that should be in your primary post. And then in your response posts, this is the question that you should answer. So your primary post, there's always 2 due dates in a forum. The first is for the primary post, which is generally due on a Wednesday. And then your response posts, which are generally due by the Friday of that week. You can do them earlier than that. Again, what the things you want to do is make sure you're engaging in the forum multiple times a week, and that you are posting your primary post on time and you're posting your response post on time. So to start your primary post, you click post your discussion here. You get to add your subject line and type your post. So number 1, number 2, and lastly, I just want to point out to remember confidentiality and the grading criteria. So these links here take you to those policies if you need a refresher on those as you're completing your assignment. So again, we're doing a lot of these. We do these almost every week across the semester. So send me an email or use the forum on the homepage, ask questions. I want to answer them. So thanks for watching this video, and I am looking forward to engaging in these discussions with you.